She was 24 years old. She had $47 in her bank account. Her little brother was in a rehab facility she could barely afford. And every Tuesday night she served the most dangerous man in Las Vegas without flinching. They called it a death wish. She called it Tuesday. But here is the thing nobody tells you about fire. It does not ask permission before it burns. Tracy Williams was not supposed to change Kimmy John's world. She was not supposed to look him in the eye when everyone else stared at the floor. She was not supposed to push him out of the way of a bullet. And she was absolutely, definitely not supposed to end up sitting at his table. But destiny does not care about supposed to. This is the story of the waitress who refused to be furniture. This is the story of the woman who broke the wolf. This is the story of how Table 14 became a throne, and how Tracy Williams, with an afro full of crown and a spine made of steel, claimed it. Welcome back, beautiful souls, to Afro-Korean Heartbeat Stories, the home of love that cuts deep, men who are dangerous and devoted, and women who never, ever bow. If you are new here, welcome home. Subscribe right now and turn on your notifications. Drop your city in the comments below. Lagos? London? Atlanta? Toronto? Seoul? This community is global and we love to see it. Hit the bell and turn on all notifications. Now let us go to Las Vegas. They called Table 14 the morgue. Not because the food was bad. Palazzo Hannah served the finest Korean-Italian fusion in all of Nevada and everyone on the Strip knew it. They called it the morgue because the man who sat there every Tuesday at precisely 9 o'clock was the man who decided who breathed freely in this city and who did not breathe at all. The Palazzo Hannah sat tucked between two casinos like a secret only the powerful were allowed to keep. White stone facade. Heavy ebony doors. A menu with no prices listed, because if you needed to ask, you could not afford to be there. It was 8:55 p.m. on a Tuesday in the middle of July. The air conditioning was Arctic but Tracy Williams was sweating anyway. She adjusted her apron, white shirt, red apron, the uniform of someone who was invisible on purpose, and balanced a tray of water glasses on her forearm. Tracy was 24. She had a natural afro that refused to be tamed by any bun or pin the management kept suggesting. She had dark intelligent eyes and a scar on her chin from the night she stepped in front of a punch meant for her little brother. She had a stillness about her, a quiet refusal to shrink, that unnerved people who expected deference. She was not looking for trouble. She was looking for rent money and a way to keep her brother Damon alive. Tracy. The floor manager, a round perpetually damp man named Danny, appeared at her elbow. He was whispering. Everyone whispered on Tuesday nights at Palazzo Hannah. You are on table 14. Tracy stopped walking. Danny. It is Reese's rotation. Reese is in the back bathroom. He locked the door. I think he is crying. Tracy looked toward table 14. The corner booth, a sweeping semicircle of black leather in an alcove that offered a view of the entire restaurant. Currently empty, set with the precision of a surgeon's operating table. Please Tracy. Danny wiped his forehead. His face had gone the color of old dough. I will give you Reese's entire tip share. Tracy exhaled through her nose. She picked up the water pitcher. Fine. At exactly 9 o'clock the heavy ebony doors swung open. Two men came first. Large. Suited. Eyes like surveillance cameras. They moved through the restaurant with the professional boredom of men who had already calculated every exit and every threat before the door finished closing. And then he entered. Kimmy John was not what people imagined when they thought of organized crime. He was in his mid-30s, tall, lean as a blade, with long dark hair that skimmed his collar. His face was sharp and angular, all clean lines and controlled stillness. His charcoal suit was perfectly tailored, probably worth more than Tracy's car. He moved through the crowded restaurant like water moving around stone, effortless, inevitable, utterly without urgency. He did not walk like he owned the room. He walked like the room was aware of him. There is a difference. The restaurant went quiet. Not all at once. It rippled, fork by fork, conversation by conversation, a spreading silence moving from the entrance like a stone dropped in still water. Tracy watched it happen. She had seen it before. She had served table 14 before. And every time she felt the same thing. Not fear. Curiosity. She walked toward the booth. Kimi was already seated, unfolding his napkin with one practiced motion. He did not look up. He never looked at the staff. To him they were architecture. "Good evening, sir," Tracy said. Her voice was flat, steady, tired in the particular way of someone who had already worked a 7-hour shift before this one. "Sparkling or still?" Kimi's hand paused on the napkin. Slowly, like a man who had not expected to be surprised, he raised his head. He saw the afro, full, dark, unapologetic, framing her face like a crown she had not bothered to ask permission to wear. He saw the scar on her chin. The set of her jaw. "Still," he said. His voice was a low baritone that seemed to arrive before he spoke it. "No ice. We are out of the San Pellegrino," Tracy said smoothly. She was lying. The crates were in the back and she was not hauling them in heels tonight. "I can bring you the aqua panna or send someone to the cellar." About 10 minutes. From the kitchen pass, Danny watched with the expression of a man actively having a cardiac episode. "You did not tell Kimi John you were out of anything." Kimi's eyes narrowed. The silence stretched. Then, barely, the corner of his mouth moved. "Panna is fine," he said. Tracy nodded and turned on her heel. She did not bow. She did not scrape. She walked away. She felt his eyes drilling into the back of her head like a laser. She did not know it then, but that small effortless lie about the water was the first crack in a wall Kimi John had spent 37 years building around himself. She returned with his water and a basket of warm sourdough. As she poured, Kimi spoke, his voice low, meant only for her. "You are new." "I have been here 8 months, Tracy corrected him. "You just never looked up before." One of the guards pushed off the bar. Kimi raised 2 fingers without looking. The guard stopped. "Your name?" "Tracy." "Just Tracy." "For the purpose of bringing you dinner." "Just Tracy." He picked up the glass. "Do not bring me the menu. I want the Galbi braised short rib. And tell Chef Park that if the glaze is thin again tonight I am buying this building and turning it into a parking structure." "The glaze is fine," Tracy said, writing on her pad. "But we are out of the Barolo. Delivery comes Wednesday. Do you want the Amarone or not?" Kimi leaned back and crossed his arms. "You seem to be out of quite a lot of things tonight, just Tracy." "It is Tuesday. Everything runs low on Tuesday. That is why Wednesday exists." For the first time in longer than he could remember, Kimi John laughed. It was a short dry sound that clearly surprised even him. "Bring the Amarone." By the time the main course arrived the restaurant had begun to breathe again. Tracy moved efficiently, ignoring the burning stares of her coworkers. She knew who Kimi John was. Everyone on the strip knew. The John Syndicate. Imports. Logistics. Entertainment licensing across 8 blocks of Las Vegas Boulevard. The private clubs with no addresses on Google. But Tracy had bigger problems. Her brother Damon was 22 and had been in a rehabilitation center outside Henderson for 4 months. $3,000 a month. She was 2 payments behind. Fear, for Tracy Williams, was a luxury item. And she had been running low on luxuries since she was 16. She set the short rib in front of Kimi. "Careful. The plate is hot." "You are not afraid of me," he said. "Should I be?" She pulled the cork from the Amarone. "Most people in this city are. Most people in this city have something to lose." She poured without spilling a drop. Kimi set down his fork. "And you have nothing?" "I have a shift to finish and a bus to catch." Enjoy the short rib. She turned to walk away. She never made it. The front doors did not open with the slow, heavy dignity of Kimi John's arrival. They exploded inward. 4 men. Black tactical gear. The Volkov Bratva, a Russian criminal network that had been pushing west from Chicago for 2 years, carving at the John Syndicate's territory like a knife against cartilage. The music cut. The kitchen went silent. Screams erupted. People dove under tables. Danny the manager vanished. Kimi did not flinch. He sat perfectly still, his expression unchanged, like a man watching weather he had already predicted. One of the gunmen raised a submachine gun toward table 14. Tracy did not think. There was no calculation. There was only the same cellular reflex that had put her body between Damon and a moving fist when he was 14, the same instinct that had nothing to do with courage and everything to do with being built a certain way. She shoved Kimi John hard in the shoulder. The glass behind the booth exploded into 1,000 diamonds. The shot went wide. The wall where Kimi's head had been was now splinters and plaster. They hit the floor of the booth together, gun smoke burning the air. Kimi's security responded instantly. The restaurant became a war zone. Kimi moved over Tracy, covering her body with his, a matte black pistol appearing in his hand with the practiced ease of a man who had been preparing for this moment for years. He fired over the edge of the booth. 3 shots. Controlled. Precise. Bang. 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 Silence. Clear, one of his guards called. Kimi rose slowly. The threat was neutralized. Diners were weeping. Sirens were beginning their approach outside. He looked down. Tracy was on her back, chest heaving, hands shaking. There was a cut on her cheek, a shard of flying glass leaving a thin line of blood spreading toward her jaw. Kimi holstered his gun and gently took her chin between his fingers, tilting her face toward the light. His touch was impossibly gentle for a man who had just ended lives. "You pushed me," he said. His voice was very quiet. Like a man handling something he was not sure he was allowed to hold. "You were just sitting there. You saved my life." I reacted. It was instinct. "No," Kimi said. His eyes darkened. "People run. People hide. You put your body between me and a bullet." He pressed a folded white linen handkerchief gently against her cheek. "Hold this." Kimi stood, adjusted his jacket, glass falling from his shoulders like snow. He set a thick cream envelope on the table beside the overturned wine glass. Then he turned. "Danny," his voice could have cut through marble. The manager materialized from the kitchen, trembling. "Fire her," Kimi said coldly, gesturing toward Tracy. "She is finished here. If I see her in this restaurant again I will deed the building to the parking authority myself." The room went so quiet you could hear Tracy's blood hitting the floor. "You cannot be serious." Tracy scrambled to her feet, fury overriding the shock. "I just saved your life. You do not work here anymore," Kimi said. He looked at her once, a long unreadable look, then turned toward the rear exit, his guards falling in around him. Tracy looked down at the table. The envelope was still there. She grabbed it, intending to hurl it at his retreating back. But the weight stopped her. She opened the flap. Cash. Crisp banded hundreds. $10,000. And a small cream-colored business card with one phone number and a single word in precise elegant script. "Tonight." If your heart is already pounding, subscribe right now and drop your city in the comments. Houston. Accra. Birmingham. Melbourne. Nairobi. And tell me, did Kimi fire Tracy to protect her or was it control? Drop a fire emoji if you think he fired her to keep her safe. Drop an ice emoji if you think he is just dangerous. Let us see where you stand. The Henderson Recovery Center smelled the same at midnight as it did at noon. Antiseptic. Lemon polish. The particular quiet of a building where people were fighting very hard to stay alive. Tracy counted out bills at the reception desk until the administrator's eyes went wide. "Tips," Tracy said, before the question came. "That is Damon's last 2 months plus 3 forward. Can I see him?" Damon looked worse. 22 years old and hollowed out by it, sleeping in the pale blue light of his room. Tracy sat by his bed for 40 minutes holding his thin hand. This was why. This was every double shift, every snapped finger, every Tuesday night walking into the lion's den. She walked out into the warm Nevada night and pulled out the cream-colored card. She dialed. It rang once. "Ms. Williams." The voice was deep and measured. "Not Kimi." An older man. He said to call. "We know. The car is 90 seconds from your current location. Please wait at the curb." The line ended. 90 seconds later a black SUV rolled up in silence. The guard from the restaurant nodded toward the door. Tracy got in. John Logistics was clean and cold inside, cameras sweeping every angle, people moving with military purpose. Tracy was led to the top floor. Floor-to-ceiling glass. A view of the city's neon skeleton against the dark desert. And there at the window, his silhouette carved against 10,000 lights below, Kimi John. Dark cashmere. Dark trousers. The same quiet danger, stripped of its public armor. He did not turn when she entered. "You paid your brother's rehabilitation bill," he said. "How do you know that?" "I know most things, Tracy." He turned then. His face was tired, not soft, but the machinery of his control was slightly exposed. "I know your rent is 3 weeks behind. I know your father left when you were 9. I know you deferred a nursing degree twice for Damon's treatment. You have no right to. I have every right to investigate the person who just saved my life. And the person I am about to offer a job." "You fired me," Tracy said. Evenly. As if reminding him of the weather. "I fired you from Palazzo Hanna because the Volkov men saw your face. If you went back they would take you, torture you, and dispose of you. I fired you because it was the only move that kept you alive." He paused. "I apologize for the manner of it. It was not graceful. I need someone to run my estate outside the city. Staff that are incompetent or stealing. Someone who notices details, does not lose composure when the room falls apart, and is not afraid to tell me I am wrong. You managed all 3 in one evening. You want me to be your housekeeper. I want you to run my household. You live on the property rent-free, and you will be safe inside those walls. The compensation is $12,000 a month. Full medical coverage including Damon's treatment. Why me? You could hire a professional tomorrow." Kimi closed the distance. "Professional managers steal or sell what they know. You put your body between me and a bullet before your brain gave you permission. I cannot purchase that kind of instinct." He extended his hand. "I want Sundays," Tracy said. "Full day off. For Damon. Sundays are yours." Tracy took his hand. The grip was firm. The skin was warm. For one alarming second the contact felt like something she would think about later, alone, in the dark. "When do I start?" "You already have. Welcome to the John estate, Tracy Williams." The locals outside Henderson called it the compound. Tracy arrived at 2:30 in the morning with 2 suitcases holding everything she owned. The estate was 40 acres of desert landscape behind sensor-topped walls. At the center a modern stone mansion, black glass and pale limestone, severe and beautiful. She was met by Sung, Kimi's consigliere, a Korean man in his mid-60s with silver temples and eyes that had seen decades of everything and maintained their patience anyway. "Don Kimi has given you the East Wing apartment," Sung said. It was his mother's quarters. "He has not permitted anyone to stay there since she passed. I can take the staff rooms." "You are not staff precisely. You are a personal appointment. To refuse would be to insult him." Do not insult him. Tracy noted Sung offered this not as a warning but as genuine practical advice. Supervise cleaning staff, manage the kitchen, coordinate the wardrobe, liaise with security. And keep him alive, Sung added. Keep him alive. Don Ki-mi does not sleep or eat regularly. He works until his body refuses. Your most important duty is to remind him he is a human being. Understood, Tracy said. The first week was a masterclass in controlled chaos. Tracy fired the cleaning team on day 3 after catching one photographing the security room. She reorganized the kitchen, threw out expired food the previous manager had been billing Ki-mi for, and rebuilt the wine inventory. She barely saw him. He left before the desert turned pink and returned after she was asleep, like living with the evidence of a person rather than the person himself. Until Friday. 3:14 a.m. Tracy came downstairs in a silk robe and walked into the kitchen. The lights were off. The refrigerator cast a low blue glow across the room. Sitting at the island, still in his suit trousers and an unbuttoned dress shirt, head in his hand and a whiskey glass in the other, was Ki-mi John. He looked undone. Not broken. But the seams of him were showing. Mr. John. His head came up. His free hand moved to his waistband, reflex, and then stopped when he registered her face. Go back to bed, Tracy. You are bleeding. A dark stain was spreading through the white cotton of his sleeve. That needs attention. It is a graze. Let me see it. I said. And I heard you. She was already at the sink. She pulled the first aid kit from the cabinet she had reorganized on Monday, walked back to him, and pushed his hand away from the whiskey glass. Jacket. Sleeve up. Then he peeled off his shirt. Tracy had not been prepared for that. His torso was a document of survival, scars and old bullet marks across olive skin. She had been a nursing student before Damon's first crisis pulled her out. She knew how to look at a wound without making it about herself. Who stitched this? She asked. The work was rough and uneven. I did. In the car. You are a terrible seamstress. She cleaned the wound with careful, efficient movements. Do not move. Why are you not asking what happened? He said. Because if I know, I become a liability. And the dental coverage on this job is genuinely excellent. He let out a low short sound, almost a laugh. You are a very strange woman, Tracy Williams. And you are a very messy man, Ki-mi John. Have you eaten? Not since this morning. 22 minutes later they were sitting at the kitchen island eating doenjang jjigae, fermented soybean paste stew made from stock she had prepared on Wednesday, simple and restorative. Ki-mi ate like a man who had forgotten what hunger felt like. My grandmother made this, he said quietly. It is a traditional recipe. Nothing fancy. Just honest ingredients. It is good. He looked at her across the steam. Thank you. Do not get accustomed to midnight service. I am the manager, not the cook. A silence settled between them. Not uncomfortable. The particular quality of silence between two people beginning cautiously to trust the shape of the room they are both in. Why did you not run? He asked. At the restaurant. When I offered you this job. You knew what I am. When Damon was 15 he got jumped 3 blocks from our apartment. 4 boys. They wanted his shoes and his phone. I came around the corner and I saw it happening and I could not run. Something in me just does not work that way. She paused. You built an empire because you could not run from what life handed you. I clean it because I cannot run from what life handed me. We might not be as different as you think. Ki-mi was very still. He reached across the counter and very slowly tucked a strand of hair back from her face. His fingers lingered at the edge of her jaw. The kitchen felt suddenly very small. Very warm. We are different, Tracy, he said, his voice low and careful. I destroy things. You repair them. The air between them was thin and charged and full of everything neither of them said. And then the security panel erupted in red light and a sharp insistent alarm. Perimeter breach. West Gate. Multiple contacts. Kimi was on his feet instantly. The man from the kitchen island, tired and almost human, was gone. What replaced him was something older and harder and frightening in its absolute clarity. Your room. Now. Lock the door. Do not open it for anyone until I personally knock. Kimi. Now Tracy. She ran. Okay. I need everyone watching right now to stop. Take a breath. Because what is about to happen is the twist this whole story has been building toward, and I need you subscribed before you hear it. Hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on every notification. And tell me in the comments, are you ready? Because nothing prepared me for what Tracy saw from that window. Let us go. Tracy ran. Her bare feet struck cold marble, up the stairs, through the east wing corridor, through the heavy door she bolted behind her. Outside the estate exploded. Automatic gunfire cut through the desert silence. Muzzle flashes strobed through the window blinds. She stayed low, moved to the window, pressed herself against the wall and peered through the narrow gap. She could see the front lawn. Men moving in tactical formation. She could see Kimi near the central fountain, firing back with controlled precision. She should have looked away. She should have stayed against the wall. But something made her scan the full frame of the scene below, the whole picture, not just the center, and that instinct saved his life. Near the garage entrance, half hidden by Kimi's armored SUV, a figure was moving. Uniformed. One of the John security team. Wearing the right jacket, the right earpiece. But he was not firing at the attackers. He was crouched beneath the SUV's chassis, pressing a small black device against the undercarriage with the deliberate care of a man who intended for it to stay there. Tracy leaned closer to the window. She knew the face. Gene. Kimi's head of security. 10-year veteran of the John operation. The man who had briefed her on her first day and shown her which cameras covered which blind spots. The attack on the front lawn was a distraction. The Real kill was a bomb under Kimi's escape vehicle. The car he would run to the moment he believed the external threat was neutralized. The moment he believed he was safe. Tracy was already moving. She grabbed the heavy brass lamp, unbolted the door, and ran. The garage was cold, smelling of motor oil. Tracy hit the service door at a sprint. The overhead lights triggered and there they were. Jin's legs sticking out from under the SUV. Gene, she screamed. He slid out from beneath the car. In his hand the detonator. Beneath the chassis the small brick of explosive, its red indicator blinking steady as a heartbeat. Gene looked at her. Shock. Then contempt. You should have stayed in your room, he said, reaching for his holster. Tracy threw the lamp. It was not graceful. It was the throw of a woman who had hit someone with a brick at 16 and understood that sometimes mass and momentum are the only weapons you have. The heavy bass connected with Jin's shoulder. She heard the bone go. The detonator skittered across the concrete. Gene howled, fumbling for his weapon with his good hand. I will make this slow, he hissed, raising the gun. So slow. Tracy dove behind a stack of winter tires. The first shot sparked off the floor 3 feet from her head. The second hit the tire beside her face. Crunch. Crunch. Jin's footsteps moving closer. Come out, Tracy. Do not make me hunt. She put her hand out blindly and found a tire iron. She gripped it. She would not die on her knees. The service door behind Gene opened. It did not creak. It opened with the total terrible silence of a man who had spent his life learning to move without sound. Kimi. Drenched in rain and sweat, his shirt torn, blood on his collar. His weapon up and level with an unwavering stillness that made every action movie Tracy had ever seen feel fraudulent by comparison. He took in the scene in under 2 seconds. The bomb. The detonator on the floor. Tracy behind the tires with a tire iron. Jean with a weapon raised. Drop it, Kimi said. Not loud. Not theatrical. 3 syllables at a volume that could barely fill the room and yet made Tracy's skin pull tight from across the garage. Kimi, Jean was sweating, backing toward the wall. The Volkovs have my sister. They said if I did not they would kill her. I did not have a choice. You planted a bomb on my car, Kimi said, taking one step forward. You led a kill squad through my perimeter. You put her in danger. His eyes moved to Tracy for one fraction of a second. She has been here 11 days. You have been with me for 10 years. She is nothing, Jean screamed, desperate now. She is an outsider. She is just. She ran toward the garage in the middle of a firefight to save my life, Kimi said, his voice barely a whisper now, which was somehow more frightening than anything he could have shouted. While you were planting the device that was supposed to end it. The single shot was clean and final. Kimi knelt at the SUV and methodically pulled the detonator wire from the explosive charge. Then he stood and turned toward the tires. Tracy. She stood up. The tire iron clattered from her hand. Her legs gave way and she slid down the wall to the cold concrete, arms wrapped around herself. Kimi crossed the garage in 4 strides and dropped to his knees, both hands gripping her shoulders. Did he touch you? His voice was different, the stone still there but something underneath it cracked. Did he hurt you? I hit him with the lamp, she whispered, a hysterical laugh bubbling up. I broke your lamp. I am sorry about the lamp. Kimi stared at her. Then he pulled her into his chest. Not a careful embrace. A desperate crushing hold that had nothing to do with grace and everything to do with relief. He buried his face in her hair. Tracy felt the tension shaking through him, the controlled exterior finally registering what the body had been carrying. She felt the warmth of him and the roughness of his torn shirt against her cheek and the solid unmistakable reality of him being alive. You saved me, he said against her hair. Again. He was going to detonate it when you reached the car. I had to. I had to, Kimi. He pulled back. Both hands cupped her face, thumbs careful on her cheekbones. The garage was lit by emergency lights and the distant glow of the desert. His eyes were very dark and very close and full of something Tracy had no clean word for. I have to send you away, he said. After tonight they know your face. You are a target because of me. No. Her hands wrapped around his wrists. If you send me away I have no protection. The Volkovs know who I am. The only safe place is inside your perimeter. You know that. And I know you know that. Kimi looked at her for a long time. She watched him work through the logic, the strategy, the angles. She watched the moment he admitted to himself that the logic was not entirely why he wanted her to stay. Then you stay, he said finally. His voice was low and absolute. And I will reduce this city to ash before anyone touches you again. You have my word. In the cold light of the garage with the desert night pressing against the walls, Kimi John's word felt like the most permanent thing Tracy Williams had ever been given. She nodded. He pressed his forehead to hers. The following morning new security teams arrived before dawn. By 7 a.m. the property was swept and declared clean. At 9 o'clock Kimi convened a meeting in the dining room. Sun to his right. 3 senior members on the left. Tracy stood at the sideboard pouring espresso. When one of the capos tried to redirect her to the kitchen, Kimi placed his hand flat on the table with a quiet finality that stopped the conversation. She stays, he said. She spotted the bomb. She ended the threat from inside my own perimeter. She stays at this table. No one argued. The Volkov Bratva had sent a formal message requesting a truce meeting at the charity gala at the Venetian Grand Ballroom. Public venue. Neutral ground. No weapons. That is precisely why it is dangerous, Tracy said. The table went quiet. They will isolate you in a private area and use something untraceable. They needed to look like an accident to avoid a crackdown. She planted both hands on the table. But the Volkov leadership does not look at service staff. At the restaurant they spoke openly in Russian with me 3 feet away because I was invisible to them. Get me hired with the catering firm tonight. I will hear everything they say when they think no one is listening. You will have eyes they have never accounted for. Absolutely not, Kimi said immediately. More dangerous than sitting here waiting for the next gene. Tracy walked to the end of the table and faced him directly. You need an edge tonight, Kimi. I am your edge. Nobody spoke to Don Kimi John that way. Not at this table. Not ever. Kimi looked at her for a long moment. Then he turned to Sung. Wire and earpiece. Smallest configuration we have. He walked the length of the table toward Tracy and stopped a step away from her. He reached out and adjusted her collar, his knuckles skimming her neck with a deliberateness that neither of them acknowledged. If you sense anything, any shift, any signal, you leave, he said. You do not look back. You run. Do you understand me? I understand you, Tracy said. A pause. That is not the same as agreeing. Kimi looked at her. That slight movement at the corner of his mouth. No, he said quietly. I suppose it is not. The Venetian Grand Ballroom had been transformed into a cathedral of wealth and manufactured elegance. Tracy was invisible, dressed in a black vest and white shirt, moving through the crowd with a tray of champagne flutes. She watched Kimi enter. He was breathtaking in a tuxedo that fit him like a second skin, flanked by Sung and Day, his eyes scanning, always scanning. I am in position. North side near the bar. Copy. Kimi's voice came through her ear, clear and calm. Volkov is at the center table. Tracy approached the Volkov table. Dmitry Volkov, the patriarch, was a massive man with a white beard and a laugh like a rock crusher, surrounded by his sons. Tracy kept her head down. Champagne, sir. Leave the bottle, Dmitry grunted, not looking at her. He was speaking rapid Russian to his son. Tracy lingered, fumbling with the napkin for a few precious seconds. She listened. She caught it. East stairwell. Ventilation system. Level 3. Seal. Gas. She found a quiet corner. Kimi, she hissed into her microphone. They are not hitting you at the table. They are baiting you to the east stairwell. Ventilation system, level 3. Seal and gas. Understood. Stay clear, Tracy. I am making contact. She watched Kimi approach the Volkov table. Dmitry stood with arms wide, feigning warmth. Kimi, my friend, he boomed. We must talk privately. I have reserved the terrace lounge. Kimi smiled. After you, Dmitry. They moved toward the elevators. Tracy's blood ran cold. He was walking into the trap knowingly. He had a plan. He always had a plan. But as the elevator doors closed, Tracy saw something that stopped her breathing. One of the catering staff slipped a jamming device from his pocket and placed it on the security panel near the stairs. Her earpiece went to static. Kimi. Sung. Nothing but white noise. They were going to gas the corridor and finish him inside it. The security guards were distracted by a staged altercation across the room. She was already walking toward the maintenance corridor. The east stairwell was sealed when she reached it. She could hear it through the door, muffled and distant, the sounds of a sealed space with too many men and too little air and something going very, very wrong. The ventilation duct junction was in the maintenance corridor. She knew this because Tracy Williams read floor plans like other people read menus. She had studied the Venetian layout in the car on the way. She found the junction panel. She did not have a tool. She had a dessert fork she had pawned from a passing tray. It took 4 minutes and a broken fingernail. She reversed the ventilation flow and hit the emergency door release from the maintenance side. The stairwell door burst open. Kimi came through it first, half staggering, hand against the wall, eyes sharp and furious and completely present. 2 Volkov men came through unconscious. A third was still moving and was not moving for long. He saw Tracy and stopped. "The ventilation system," he said. "Not a question. I read the floor plan." He crossed to her and gripped her shoulders with the particular hold of someone who needs physical confirmation that the other person is real and unharmed. "You were supposed to leave." His voice was carefully controlled in a way that meant the opposite of calm. "I know," Tracy said. He looked at her for a long unsteady moment. Then he exhaled and pulled her in, one hand at the back of her head, one at her waist, and held her in the maintenance corridor while his security team moved efficiently around them and the distant pulse of the city pressed against the walls. "Sung," he said over her shoulder. "Yes, Don Kimi. Notify the commissioner. The Volkov leadership attempted a chemical assault on a public venue. I want them in federal custody by midnight. Not dead. Arrested. Let them sit in a cell knowing they lost to a woman who reads floor plans." Kimi pulled back and looked down at Tracy. His eyes held something she had no experience naming in a man like him. "Are you ready to go home?" he asked. "That is the second time you have called it home," she said. "Is that wrong?" Tracy thought about the East Wing apartment. The desert view from the window. The kitchen at 4 in the morning. "No," she said. "It is not wrong." They sat in the back of the SUV on the drive back, the city scrolling past the tinted windows in its relentless neon. Sung's voice came from the front seat. "The Volkov leadership is in custody. The commissioner says he does not know the full story of this evening and is content to remain uninformed." "Generous of him," Kimi said. "The threat is neutralized," Kimi said quietly. "The Volkovs are finished in Nevada." He turned toward Tracy. "You are free. Damon's care is funded. The salary is yours. But the danger is gone. You do not have to stay." "I know I do not have to," she said. "Then what do you want?" She had been thinking about this since the garage. Since the kitchen at 4 a.m. Since the dining room that morning where she had stood at a table full of dangerous men and been treated by the most dangerous man in the room like the most important person present. "I do not want to be the housekeeper anymore," she said. "I do not want to manage staff and deliveries and stand at the sideboard pouring coffee while the real conversation happens at the table." "What do you want, Tracy?" "I want to be at the table. Not serving it. Sitting at it. I want to be useful in a way that actually counts. I want to matter in this life. Not just survive it." Kimi was quiet for a long moment. Then he turned to Sung. "Draw up a formal agreement. Advisory position. Threat assessment and internal security gaps. Reporting directly to me." He looked back at Tracy. "Salary adjustment to follow." "I have not agreed yet." "Have you not?" She looked at him. At the sharp angular face and the long dark hair and the exhaustion that lived behind his eyes and the warmth that she had learned in 11 impossible days was also present there, buried under a decade of armor but present. "I want Sundays," she said. "Every week. Non-negotiable." "Still non-negotiable," Kimi agreed. "And I want the truth. Not the managed version. The actual truth about what I am walking into. That will occasionally be uncomfortable for both of us. I know. I am asking anyway." Kimi reached across the back seat and opened his hand, palm up, in the space between them. Not a handshake. Not a contract. An offer, with full acknowledgement of what accepting it meant. Tracy looked at it. She thought about table 14. About standing at that booth in her apron and her impossible afro and asking the most dangerous man in Las Vegas whether he wanted sparkling or still. She thought about everything that refusal to be invisible had cost her. And everything it had given her. She put her hand in his. His fingers closed around hers, warm and certain and unhurried. Outside the tinted windows Las Vegas blazed and spun. Somewhere behind them in a federal holding facility, the men who had believed Tracy Williams was just furniture were beginning to understand how wrong they had been. And in the back of a black SUV on the edge of the Nevada desert, the woman who had refused to be anything less than exactly herself took her seat beside the man who had finally made room for her there. Table 14 would never be the morgue again. It was the throne. And Tracy Williams had earned every inch of it. And that, beautiful souls, is where our story ends for today. But this is only the beginning. Tracy is now inside Kimi's world, inside his operation, inside his trust, inside something neither of them has a clean word for yet. The Volkovs may be finished. But Las Vegas has other wolves. And some of them are much, much closer. So here is my question for you today, and I need you to answer in the comments right now. Do you think Kimi is fully falling for Tracy, or is he still keeping a part of himself locked away? Drop a purple heart if you think he is already gone for her. Drop a lock if you think he is still holding back. I need to see that comment section light up. Now, if this story had you gripping your phone, if Tracy made you proud, if Kimi made you feel things you were not prepared for, and if you want to know what happens when these two are truly tested, when the enemy is not a rival syndicate but something far more personal and far more dangerous, you need to be subscribed to this channel right now. Click that red button. Turn on every notification. Share this video with your people. Because Chapter 2 is coming. Someone from Tracy's past resurfaces. Someone who knows secrets Kimi does not. Someone who will force both of them to decide what they are willing to risk. Do you want Chapter 2? Tell me in the comments. Just type drop Chapter 2. If I see that comment section flood, I will release it early. The power is in your hands. Every story here is for the woman who refuses to be invisible, for the love forged in fire, not found on shelves. Watch from wherever you are in this world. We see you. Now go share this story, and we will see you in Chapter 2.